everyone. Good morning, and thank you for top series, Women's Business Development Series. And this is our third session, Perfecting Your Pitch. And so we're happy to have you join us. And we want to thank I'm joined today with Nancy Allen, our presenter and CEO of the Women's Business Development Center, and Ed Ciampi, who is Martin County Commissioner for District 5, representing Palm City and Indian Town. And so Commissioner Ciampi was gracious enough to be a partner with us in this endeavor. And we're so thrilled that he's here to support this initiative, and it's supportive of his view of business, supporting business, women in business, and all small businesses in general. And coming from his background of having been a small business owner and entrepreneur and working in international business, and now as Martin County Commissioner, he is well suited and well positioned to be a partner. So thank you, Ed, so much for your vision and for your kind support of this initiative. So please.
My pleasure, thank you. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone that's either participating live or will see this afterwards as part of our series. I've known Emily for quite a long time, and she's been remarkably helpful in most of my professional and business endeavors. So when we met a while back and she told me about Nancy, and then I had the opportunity to meet Nancy, I was really super impressed, and I just wanted to offer the opportunity for business people, especially in this case women, to have the opportunity to hear from and learn from and be mentored from two really dynamic business leaders. They happen to be women, but it doesn't make a difference. They are business leaders in the business marketplace, no matter male or female. And the series has been great. I've gotten tremendous feedback from folks that have been very interested, and it's sort of a real world approach. It's not too techie or academic where you feel like, I'm not really learning anything that can relate to me. I think that they speak in plain, frank, real world terms that everyone can take something from and learn. And the current environment that we've been under for the last year, any advantages that you can take, it's time. These are offered to you without expense, which under the circumstances is also excellent. And I feel confident, I hope all of you do. I feel confident that we are moving out of this thicket that we've been in for the last year and extra months. And now is the time to position yourself so that when the floodgates open up a little bit more, you are perfectly primed to hit the ground running. Most of you are already business people, but any of us, whether you're in brand new or at 10 years, 20 years, there's always things we can learn from savvy, smart colleagues. And this morning will be another example of that. So I wish everyone well. And ladies, take it away.
Thank you so much, Ed. We really appreciate your kind words and again, your ongoing support. That's really beautiful. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce Nancy Allen, who will be presenting for us today. Nancy's an author. She's the CEO, as I mentioned, of the Women's Business Development Center, and she's passionate about women in business and bringing her expertise to bear on this topic. And so today in Perfecting the Pitch, she will highlight some really important tips and insights that we need in presenting ourselves for whatever we're pitching for. So Nancy, welcome, and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you so much, Commissioner Ciampi. It's a real pleasure to work with you in collaboration on this really important topic of business development. As you said, our world changed and is going to continue to evolve. And as savvy business people, the thing to do is change and evolve along with that, right? So this is the third part, or the third presentation in a three-part series. And today we're going to be talking about perfecting your pitch. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And let me know if you can actually see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So today's topic, as I said, is all about perfecting your pitch, and it's really more than that about how to set yourself up as a resource. So Emily introduced me a bit. I'm an author. I'm a coach. My personal motto is connections, creativity, and courage. And I have the pleasure and the privilege of being able to work in a field and with people who allow me to live my motto on a daily basis. I've worked with women business owners for over 24 years. And a lot of that work has really been helping them to pitch, whether to pitch to a client, to pitch at a networking session, to pitch to investors. It's really all about how you can access opportunities and potential contracts and investments through how you present yourself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'd like to invite you in the chat to just introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are, your contact information as well, and why you joined today, and then and what you're hoping to get out of the session. And we'll see if we can, make sure to address that. It looks like we're going to be a pretty intimate group. And at any point, Emily, if you'll watch the chat for me, at any point, if there's some questions, I'm happy to stop the presentation and take questions, since there aren't that many people on the chat. Okay. So this is one of my favorite quotes. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And it was originally said by the philosopher Seneca, and Oprah Winfrey kind of popularized it in our time, right? And it's really about being in the right place at the right time and being prepared, right? Because you can be in the right place at the right time and not prepared to talk about your business, to talk about your product or service. So being prepared is what we're going to talk about today. So here's what we're going to cover. Today, we'll talk about the elements of a great pitch. We'll talk about presenting the pitch, and we'll talk about follow-up after the pitch. So you might wonder, I'm sure you're on this call because you're interested in these different elements of a great pitch. But why pitch, right? So you will pitch your business to investors. You'll pitch your business to just talk about who you are and what you're doing. You can pitch your business to ask for support, right? If you do a focus group, you're trying a new project or a product or a new service, you can create a focus group and pitch your business to them. And, ultimately you can pitch your business to ask for money, right? For an investment. So what we're going to be talking about through our time together will apply if you're doing a one-on-one pitch, if you're pitching to investors, and even if you're making introductions at a meeting, right? At a networking meeting, and they ask you to stand up and introduce yourself. That's a kind of a pitch, right? So some of the elements of what we will be talking about today, you'll be able to use in that. Right, so part one of our time together, what are the elements of a great pitch? So I'm sure that you probably recognize this team right here from Shark Tank. I'm going to show them a couple of times throughout the presentation because they kind of epitomize in our nomenclature, what investing and what pitches are all about, right? So this right here, let's see if you can see my cursor. This is Mark Cuban. This is Barbara Corcoran, Damon James. This is Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful. This is Lori Grenier, and this is Robert Herjavec. And if you ever watch Shark Tank, you know that these people have special interests. They have different styles and how they ask the questions. They've got, you know, between themselves, it is TV, and there's going to be some banter and, you know, some drama and all of that. But if you pay close attention, you can learn a lot about who likes what and what impresses them, right? So I'm going to invite you to start off by doing some homework, right? You're going to first, before you even prepare your pitch, consider who are your targets, what do they like to invest in, and what products and services do they buy, right? So if we're to look at Damon John, Damon John he's a fashion guru, right? So anything that's related to fashion, to clothing, to, you know, shoes, hats, et cetera, he really likes those kinds of investments. Robert Herjavec is in technology, and so he's always looking to invest in technology. Lori Grenier is the QVC queen, right? So if you have a product that can go on QVC that you can easily sell, you would be able to pitch directly to her. So I'm sharing this again, just for you to keep in mind that you need to do your homework as you're preparing your pitch. So here are, you know, you probably remember from your school days, who, what, where, when, why, and how. And we're going to use that as a framework to help you build a really great pitch. So number one, who. Here is where you're going to be talking about you, who you are, what your expertise is, what you're interested in, and what you're passionate about. And that's really key, is it has to come through those three things, right? Your expertise, your interest, and especially your passion. And people, I want you to remember that people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And as a result of that, you'll be able to connect with someone. Someone will connect with you if they know you, if they like you, and especially if they trust you. So as you're building your pitch, keep those things in mind and pepper your presentations, your pitch with those things: expertise, interest, and passion. The second element is what. So this is where you're going to talk about the product, and you're going to talk about the service that you're presenting. And you really want to set yourself up as a resource. Okay, so the person that you are pitching your product or service to might not need it right now, but if you set yourself up as a resource, they will come back to you, and you can use that in your follow-up as well to say, you know, during our time together, you asked me XYZ question, or you referred to this, and I can help you with that, right? And you also want to remember as you're speaking, to answer the question, what will it do for them? Okay, so you're pitching to a corporate client, and you want your pitch to have statements about what it will do for them. Will it save the company money? Will it save them time? Will it make life easier? Or will it be a new twist on an old product? So that's really important to specifically say what it is that is important about what you're doing to the person you're speaking with. Where is the third element, And here you want to talk about location, scope, whether or not you're a brick and mortar company or whether you're online. So your location has to do with the geography, right? Are you local? Are you a regional company? Are you a national company? Are you a global company? Does your product or service apply, and can it be taken advantage of locally, nationally, regionally, and internationally? And I like to tell business owners, women business owners in particular, that it's okay if your product is only local, and you can use that to your advantage. Okay, as you're pitching to a local corporation, you can say, you know, we used your products as I was growing up because I'm from this area. You can say, we know the landscape, we know the community, and that's why we would be a really great partner to you. So don't ever let the fact that you're small and local keep you from making a pitch for your products or services. All right. The scope has to do with whether or not you're a niche product or if you're a general product. And again, you know, in marketing, they say the more you focus, the easier it is to penetrate a market, right? They talk about the image of a block of wood and a nail and a hammer. So the sharper your nail, meaning the more focused, the easier it is to split that piece of wood, right? As opposed to trying to do it with a dull nail. So if you have a niche market, good for you. Don't let that keep you from making a pitch, right? If you have a product that's more general in nature, good for you for that too. That can be used to your advantage as well. The brick and mortar nowadays, especially with the pandemic, so much is happening without brick and mortar, right? And so much is happening online that you should really, really take advantage of those opportunities. And actually remember that every business is an online business. Every business should have some kind of online presence. And you want to take care to make sure that your website is current, that your website is easy to maneuver, and that your website highlights all of the great things about you. Because you want, just as you're doing research on potential investors, they're researching you as well. So for example, if you are a certified woman business owner, you want to definitely put that in your website. If you've won awards or been recognized in your local community or statewide or nationally, you want to be able to put those things in your website as well. And you want to have something called a capability statement on your website. So if you don't know what a capability statement is, I can answer some questions about that, but basically it's a one-page, like a resume of your business. We've done a couple of workshops, and we can share those with you, the recordings with you, about the importance of having a capability statement. But really, as someone is researching your website, you may have 20, 30, 40 pages of information on your website. A capability statement is the resume. It's a 1 or 2 page document that has information, relevant information that someone can go to quickly and see, you know, read all about your business. The fourth element is when. So here is where you're going to talk about when you started, if your business is ready to go, or if you're pre-launch, right? So when you started, it's absolutely okay to say, I just started the business during the pandemic, because then you go into the reason you started this business. It's perfectly okay to say, I've been in business three years. As a matter of fact, if you're speaking with a corporate buyer, a potential corporate client, they really prefer that you have 3 to 5 years of business experience before they will do business with you. Okay, there are ways to work around that, and we can talk about that during the question answer period. But, you know, a brand new business can get investors. A business that's 3 years old can get investors, just as a business that's 10 or 15 years old can get investors as well, right? So it's all about how you position yourself. Ready to go is to, you know, is this a product and a service that's already in existence, and the investor or the person who you're pitching to, or the buyer, it's ready to go. You don't have any ramp up time as you might with a pre-launch. So a pre-launch investment pitch, you're going to be talking about other investors. You'll still be talking about, you know, all of the elements, but you'll say, you know, this is not yet ready to go, and I'm seeking investments or funding in order to launch this thing. And investors really like pre-launch opportunities because they can control a bit more the way the product is developed and the way the product is presented. So don't let that, you know, keep you from applying for pitch competitions or going before investors. Okay, then the fifth element is how. That's all about the delivery, right? How your product or service will make a difference is key to this element. And you want to be very specific. Okay, remember I talked about people that you're speaking to really want to know what's in it for them. What's in it for them personally, what's in it for them as a representative of their corporation, what's in it for them about, you know, how are they going to make money, you know, if they invest with you. So here is also where you can talk about how your product is going to make a difference in the community. If you have a product that has a sustainable component to it, definitely talk about that. And if you have a product or service that doesn't have a sustainable component, do some research to see how you might be able to introduce that as an offering or a statement that you source things locally, that you're mindful of the environment, that sort of thing, because our corporate representatives have told us, since major corporations all have sustainability statements, that they want to see sustainability statements in bids and in pitches. So you want to be very intentional about that. All right. So if you can't explain simply, you don't understand it well enough. So this is a quote by Albert Einstein, and I think it's right on, right? So you have to really know who you're speaking to. And sometimes you have a product or a service that has a lot of, you know, technical and industry jargon in it, and it's easy for you to know that industry jargon or that technical jargon, not necessarily for the general population, right? So again, in the part where you're doing your research, you really want to know what type of person you're speaking to. Are they technical people? Are they ideas people? Are they numbers people? Right? So if it's a technical person that you're speaking to, they're really going to want to know the details and the industry jargon. If you're talking to an ideas person, they're more interested in the bigger picture and how did you come up with this idea and how is it really going to make a difference. If you're speaking to an audience or a person where it's, you know, they're the numbers people, then there you really want to focus in on the cost, the profit margin, and the return on investment. So again, keep in mind who your audience is and speak to them. And I'd like to also take a minute to remind you that you don't have to have only one pitch. Okay, you can have 5 different pitches that speak to your company. And when we're going to talk about the presentation of the pitch in a minute, but you should, and I really stress that you should have more than one pitch, okay? Because you're potentially going to be speaking to more than one audience. So again, be technical where you need to be technical and with whom you need to be technical. Talk about the big ideas when that's appropriate, and then you should always talk about the cost, the profit margin, and the return on investment, right? But you might want to emphasize that more than other things if you're talking to the numbers people. All right, and then why? The big question in these elements is why. Why should they listen? Why should they care? And why you? Why this product and why now? So if you can answer those questions as you're preparing your pitch, why should they listen to you? Why should they care? Why you? Why this product and why now? That will help formulate who you are and what you do and your passion about this, right? So again, keeping in mind who you're speaking to, you can answer those questions in that way, with in that vein, in that light, right? And again, here are friends from Shark Tank. So Mark Cuban over here, if you watch Shark Tank, you know that he owns, I think, a basketball team. So anything that's related to sports, to products that can go in his arenas, products that he can sell to, the people who follow his team, he's really interested in that. Barbara Corcoran has had a lot of success with food companies. She made millions with a company called Wicked Cakes. And since then, anything that has to do with foods and food services. She also, I think, made a lot of money with some cousins who sell lobsters. I don't remember the exact name of the company, but she is always interested in food products. Damon John, we had mentioned, in fashion and clothing. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, is usually, or he talks a lot about licensing, right? So if you have a product that you could benefit from through licensing, he would be the person that you're pitching to. Lori Grenier, it's really products and retail that she's really interested in. And then Robert Herjavec is in technology. And I think his background is Czech. His parents are Czechoslovakian. I think it's somewhere in that part of the world. And he talks a lot about the immigrant experience, how he started with nothing and he has grown into this, multi-billion-dollar company. So if you have that kind of experience coming from someplace else, starting from nothing, growing, that really resonates with him. Now, again, I'm using these people because they're recognizable and because you can go and watch Shark Tank episodes and learn a lot about how to pitch. By listening to the programs, you can see, okay, so this person is most interested in this, which is somewhat related to my business, and these are the questions they ask. So again, just to be able to do your homework, right? And speaking of doing your homework, I would like to recommend, if you have not read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, that you put that on your reading list. And if you don't like to read or think you don't have time to read, you can listen to it because it's an audiobook. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just Google Simon Sinek Start With Why. He's got TED Talks, he's got interviews, lots and lots of information about the importance of why you do something as opposed to how you do it, right? So your why is your passion, and that's what's going to connect with people. And then the book next to that, Find Your Why, is a workbook that his team has developed, and it's really helpful if you're working with just beyond you and a team to get buy-in into what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. So those are two really, really great books. You can start your pitch with why, or you can end your pitch with why. Okay, and they say that people remember the first thing they hear, and they remember the last thing they hear. The kind of the middle part of what they hear, unless they're extremely interested in it, they don't really tend to remember so much. So you can decide personally, do you want to start with the why you're doing what you're doing, or do you want to end with it? Okay, so it's really a personal choice, but it has to be somewhere in your presentation. Right, so I'm going to stop here because that's the first part, which is the elements of a pitch. And Emily, I'm going to ask you, are there any questions?
Yes, Nancy, we have quite a few questions
Okay.
that people have been commenting, and so let me bring that up. Well, we have a nice diverse audience. First of all, we have people all the way from India. Manohar is tuning in from India. We have Diane from Boston. So you guys, thank you so much for coming in from all the places that you found us today. And so let's see. The first one was, I think Christella mentioned, asking for a template for capability statement.
Yes, so we'll take note of your name, and we'll send that to you. I'll be glad to send that to you.
Okay, great. And I also dropped in there for her, Nancy, the link to your video that you did a training on capability statements.
Beautiful.
So that would be great to have that as well. And let's see here. And then I think Christella mentioned about that this topic is timely because it speaks to a particular weakness regarding the let me see, I got a new message. Sample of sustainable. Oh, that's not a question. Okay, someone just wrote a sample of a asking for a sample of a sustainability statement as well.
All right, so we did a workshop, and we can send that to you as well. We did a workshop on sustainability statements and sustainability, information on how to write one.
Okay, so that's what we have right for now. Just various comments, but that's kind of it.
Okay.
Yeah, people want copies of the statements. Yes. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily. And thank you everyone for your questions and comments. Right, so this second part of the presentation is all about presenting the pitch, right? So we learned how to write the pitch, what the elements that need to go into it. Now let's take some time and look at the actual presentation itself. So this is a really important quote. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. And, you probably have heard about body language, right? You probably have heard that people will pass judgment, will think they know you just based on seeing you for 7 seconds, right? How do you appear to them during the first 7 seconds that they see you? And that's all about body language, and that has nothing to do with anything that you said. Right, so you want to, as you're presenting your pitch, keep in mind that people are going to be looking at your body language, and they're going to be judging you on your confidence level. Now, women have a particular challenge with investors, angel investors, and investors in general. And you know, actually, research has been done on this. Studies have shown that women who present something, the same exact thing as a man would present, the men are more likely to get the investment than the women. And it has to do, a lot of it has to do with confidence. There's a really great book, by the way, called The Confidence Code. And this afternoon at noon, we're doing a book club and reviewing and talking about the Confidence Code. So if you want information about that, we can add that in the chat as well. But you really do have to appear when you're pitching as confident. And there are a couple of things you can do to appear as confident. Number one is you can speak more slowly than fast, right? When we get nervous, we tend to increase our rate of speech. We also, because we're increasing our rate of speech, we're getting less air into our lungs. Because we're getting less air into our lungs, the pitch and the tone of our voice goes up a couple of octaves. Now, there is, according to science, and you probably have people around you who speak very loudly, and it might irritate you, or people around you who speak very softly, and that might irritate you as well. So you have to learn to speak in a tone and in your voice has to be loud enough to be heard, but not to be threatening. So it sounds like it could be, you know, really confusing and really difficult, but the key here is to practice, right? To practice your pitch and to be prepared to present calmly. I always like to say, remember, you know your business better than I know your business. You know your passion better than I know your passion. And what I want to hear as an investor, as a buyer of your product, as someone who might potentially introduce you to other people, what I want to hear is your confidence. And what I want to hear is your passion. Okay, so next, in presenting your elevator pitch, preparation, body language, and practice is what we're going to be talking about. So as you're presenting, again, preparation, who, where, what, when, how, and why. Those are the key things that you need to have, right? And to know. You also need to know, and this is the part about getting the details. You need to know how long is the pitch. If you're going into a pitch competition, do you have a 1-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch, a 10-minute pitch? Because that's going to help you prepare that pitch, right? You want to know who will be there, who's in the audience. Are they corporate people? Are they community people? Are they actual investors? And then finally, for a pitch competition, what's the prize money? And that's really important, not because you're greedy and you want to know, how much you're going to make, but because you want to use that to inform what you're going to pitch. Okay, so if the prize money is $5,000, you're going to pitch your product or service one way as opposed to if the prize money were $30,000. So I hope you get that nuance. You want to know what the prize money is because whoever is giving the prize money wants to know that their money is going to make a difference in your product or service and in your ability to deliver that product or service. If you're doing a one-on-one presentation, again, you want to know how long you have and who you're going to be presenting to, right? That's key. And let me share an interesting story with you. We had a client years ago who shared with us how she landed a major contract. So she was going after, and I won't give you the details because I can't give you too many details without you knowing who I'm talking about. But in any case, she had done her research, and she knew that one of the corporates she wanted to target that for business was going to be at a particular conference. She went to the conference. She signed up for the conference. And most people, when you go to conferences, there's always a host hotel. And most of the people will stay at the host hotel because it's easier. Everything is right there. They don't have to worry about, finding a taxi or whatever. So most people will stay at the host hotel. So this person, she got a room at the host hotel. She paid for the conference, and she got there early the morning before the conference. And she kind of hung around the lobby. Okay. And she knew what this person who she was targeting, she knew what that person looked like. And she waited until she saw that person who that person was checking in. So she started walking over towards the elevators and was able to position herself to take the elevator with that particular person and started up a conversation with them. Are you here for this conference? The person responded, yes, I am. And she said, are you so-and-so from such and such a company? And he said, why, yes, I am. And she said, I'm a WBE, and I really want to just say thank you so much for sponsoring this event. It's really important for businesses, for women-owned businesses and businesses like mine to know that you support women-owned businesses. She immediately struck a conversation with the person. Okay, now that's a lot to do in an elevator, but she was very strategic and she was able to do it. So the next time she saw that person, there was a connection right there. Okay, so that's what I mean about getting the details and knowing who you're going to, who you're targeting and how to best approach them. You can also, at these big hotels, right, go to the gym. And early morning, a lot of the corporates are getting their workouts in. And that's a connection. If you are working out at 6 a.m. and they are working out at 6 a.m., that's a connection. I'm not saying that you should pitch to them while they're, lifting weights or on the treadmill, but it's a way to establish a connection and start a relationship. Right. So a little bit about body language. Body language and tone of voice, not words, are our most powerful assessment tools. And that's a quote from Christopher Voss. And if you attended Emily's presentation, the second in this series, you know who Christopher Voss is. He's a master negotiator. And I like this quote a lot because, again, it speaks about your confidence level and what your body is saying as you're presenting yourself, your tone of voice also, right? And then finally, practice. This is really, really important. You want to practice in front of a mirror. You want to practice with a stopwatch. You want to record yourself. You want to practice in front of trusted friends. And the more you practice, the easier it will be to present your pitch. I'm actually working with a coach who's helping me to prepare a TEDx talk. I have had a dream of presenting something on a TEDx stage. So I hired a coach. She's helping me. And one of the first things she said is you're going to memorize your presentation, because once you get on that red carpet in front of all of those people, you will be nervous. Everybody gets nervous. And if you don't have your presentation memorized, you will get tripped up, you will fumble, you will not be able to get everything you need to say in the 12 to 15 minutes as per the requirements of a TED Talk, right? So I am recommending that you do the same. Memorize your pitch. Memorize it, make it such that it just rolls off your tongue, that it's effortless, and that it seems like you're just having a conversation, because that's what is going to get you noticed, as opposed to rote memorization where you're just, you know, like a robot talking, or just presenting. You do want to memorize, but you want to do so in a way that it makes it seem seamless and like a conversation. And again, the reason you want to memorize is because you want to make sure you're hitting all of the key points. Okay. So let me go quickly into the third part of the presentation, which is the follow-up. And this is really, really key. You can ask for feedback. Okay, so if you're pitching your product through like a bid presentation that you're doing, and you don't get you're not awarded the bid, you can contact the contract officer and ask them how you fell short. Okay. You can also, at a pitch competition, ask for some feedback. And then finally, you can write a thank you note and ask for feedback. And I really suggest that you do write a thank you note, right, as a follow-up. And you can ask for feedback. The really important thing is to be prepared to receive the feedback. Okay. And sometimes it's really hard to hear, I don't have any use for your product. I didn't understand what you were saying. You know, this has been done 150 different times. And I'm going to bring up these guys again to say, if you watch Shark Tank, you know their feedback can be absolutely brutal, right? So this is why I'm saying ask for feedback, but really be prepared to receive it. Keep an open mind. Be quiet and listen more than you speak. And then that will allow you to reframe your presentation if you need it, because feedback can be very, very positive. This is a term that I love called blessings, and it's from Karen Salmonson, who has coined this term, and it's a combination of blessings and lessons. And she calls blessings the blessings in the lessons. And I think that, you know, we can learn a lot from feedback. We can learn a lot from our mistakes, right? And you can let that keep you from moving forward, or you can use that to your advantage by saying, okay, the feedback that I am getting for this product or for this service is not what I thought it was going to be. You have a decision. Do you want to keep working on it the way it is? Or do you want to regroup and reframe, repurpose, rethink, and move forward? So that's really ultimately your choice. But remember, you can always ask for feedback. Okay, and when you get that feedback, that's your opportunity to make adjustments. Is the time right for this product or service? You can ask, you know, you'll know better what to emphasize, because if I'm the numbers person and you didn't really know I was the numbers person, and you presented these other elements and just a little bit about the profit margin and the return on investment and the cost and blah, blah, blah. Now you know that if you're going to present to me again, that's what you need to emphasize. You can make adjustments to your target market as well based on feedback, right? The end user. Here, I'm going to invite you to consider your client, but to go one step further and to consider your client's client, okay? Here's an example. Your client might be a hospital. Your client, the hospital, their clients are their patients. Are you offering a product or service that they can use for their patients? If that's the case, then that's what you need to emphasize. Okay, so remember to look at the ultimate end user. Is it your client that's the end user, or is it your client's clients? Okay, and then here are just some things that you can use in feedback, right? So process, revise and review and revise, guides, tasks, looking for mentors. And you know, a lot of people, if they're interested in your product, they're interested in your passion, they're interested in what you're doing and how you're doing it. You can ask them if they will mentor you, right? And I think if you listen to Shark Tank again, you'll see that many times the sharks will say, I really like your passion. I really want to work with you because I like your passion. They will also say, you're not a great entrepreneur. You have a hobby. This isn't a business, right? So be very intentional about the why, and be very intentional about how you come across. Okay. And then finally, here are just some samples of different types of competitions. So you can find pitch competitions through universities. You can find them through, you know, your county or your city or, you know, your region, company-sponsored competitions, conference-based competitions, and all of these and much more are in this really great article that I found called How to Win a Startup Pitch Competition, 12 Tips for Business Success by Brian Martucci. And that's the link. You are all going to get this presentation, so you can, you know, access the links. And then I'd also invite you to look up a group, and Emily's going to put this in the chat for you. Look up a group called 1 Million Cups, and they have communities all around the country. And I think I counted 5 in Florida, 1 in Orlando, 1 in Tampa. I think Ocala had one. I don't remember the other places in Florida, but you can look this up. And what they do, it's really not a pitch competition for investment. It's an opportunity for you to practice. It's an opportunity for you to stand in front of a group of people who are interested in small business, interested in innovation and ideas, interested in investing, who will listen to your pitch, your presentation, and offer you some feedback. So this is a really great way, because sometimes you can't find some trusted people who will really ask you the questions that you need to focus in on. This is a way to do it, and you apply, and they do on a weekly basis. Our colleague in Tampa attends the 1 Million Cups competition through Hillsborough County at the Enterprise Community Center there. On Wednesdays, they do these competitions. You apply, and Emily's going to put the link in the chat where you can look at the application form just to kind of give you an idea of what this is like. And then you can go and see if in your area they have these communities. But I think it'll be really, really helpful to you. Right, so as we're wrapping up, here's what we covered today: the elements of a great pitch, presenting the pitch, and then, the all important follow-up. And so let me I'll stop sharing my screen, and we'll see if we have any questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was really wonderful. You covered so many important things, and we definitely have some questions. So let's see if we can get through all of them. First of all, Manohar asked if you could share, you'd mentioned something about 5 types of pitches and how to handle difficult feedback that you may get from a pitch. So I think
yeah, so the 5 types of pitch, the 5, that's 1, 2, 3. The 5 types of pitches. So it's one-on-one pitches. It's when you're pitching to investors, when you're pitching to potential clients. I don't remember exactly the 5 types of pitches, but it's probably in the notes. And you can reach out to me directly if you can't find them in the notes. Okay. And then what was the second part of the question?
Handling the feedback of difficult clients.
Yeah, so handling feedback is always it can be difficult, but if you keep an open mind, and if you keep in mind that you can take the feedback or not take the feedback, right? The key is to not burn any bridges. If somebody is giving you some really negative feedback, then you just say, thank you very much. I appreciate your feedback, and I'll see how I can incorporate this, as opposed to, what are you talking about? That's not what I said. How could you think that? Nobody wants to have that kind of in exchange, right? It's better not to burn any bridges and to just say, thank you, I appreciate your time and your help.
Okay, we have a couple more. Diane wanted to know about the minimum and maximum number of slides and the length of the pitch time, and also maybe the length of the elevator pitch itself. That's actually 2 things, but the slide presentation and then the length.
Yeah, so it depends on the number of slides you're going to present depends on the amount of time you have, right? So if you have a 5-minute pitch, generally you don't present any slides, because by the time you set the thing up and you go through your slides, people want to focus more on you. If you have a 15-minute pitch, then yes, you can have some slides. And the thing about slides, the thing to remember is, the slide is to jog some idea or someone's memory, right? So it's to jog your memory, to remember to say, oh, I've got to talk about these 3 things on the slide, right? I don't know if you noticed that my slides don't have a lot of words, and that's because people will be reading the slides instead of listening to what you have to say if there's a lot of words. If there's a lot of words, people are just going to tune out, because nobody wants to read 150 words on a slide. So keep that in mind as you're presenting your slides, preparing your slides, I mean. And you can always ask the organizer, can I bring slides? And how long is this presentation? And how many slides do people generally bring? Remember, the organizer wants this to be successful for you and for the people that they have brought to listen to you, so they can be a really great resource for you.
Okay, and then the length of the elevator pitch?
Well, the length of the elevator pitch, if you look at it historically, elevator, right? People freak out about being locked in a box with people they don't know for more than a minute. So that's why the elevator pitch, the timing of it is 1 to 2 minutes. But a pitch in itself can be more than 1 or 2 minutes, right? 1 or 2 minutes, you do have the opportunity to say a lot. It sounds like you might not have a lot of time with 1 minute or 2 minutes, but you can actually get a lot said and you can establish a really good relationship. So that's the history of it. It's thinking, you know, in an elevator, how much time do you have going from floor to floor? That's why they say 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay, and the last question we have is from Andrea. She's asking if you can share about pitching your services versus a big idea. So like if you have concrete sales from your business, you have that versus a forecast for an idea, if there's a difference in how you want to pitch that.
Yeah, there is a big difference. And remember that you want to know who you're pitching to, right? So if you're pitching to a corporation, they're more interested in the nuts and bolts, right? They're more interested in how much is this going to cost me and what is my return and what is this going to, you know, how is this going to help my business, my corporation? If you're pitching to investors who believe in what you do, then you have a bit more leeway, right? If you're pitching to investors who are you know, interested in the environment, they're interested in sustainability, and you're coming up with a new idea on how to develop a community garden or how to develop access for education in the schools. That's a big idea pitch, and that is different than I have a product to sell you pitch. So again, going back to who you're pitching to, and you can do a lot of research to find out who is participating in a pitch competition, and also how to identify potential investors, right? You can look at industry groups and see who's investing in that industry. And, you know, through the miracle of technology, you could probably type into a Google search, this industry group investment, right? And then you can see who might be some potential targets for you.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I think that covers the questions, and I know our time is up, but we're just going to say a few closing remarks to thank everyone for coming. And again, thank you, Nancy, for all these wonderful insights. I think everyone got a lot out of this, and it was very active chat. So I encourage people to save the chat by clicking the 3 dots in the chat box there. And after today, you will receive shortly the recording and also any other follow-ups and templates that we mentioned about the capability statement and also sustainability statement, so you have some more direction there. So I'll just pass the mic back to Nancy and Ed for any closing comments.
Well, I'll just say thank you. I hope you got something out of the presentation, and we are happy to continue conversing with you. So you can reach out to me, and I'm offering to the participants a 30-minute discovery call where, you know, we can you can get on my schedule and we'll talk about your business. I'm happy to listen to your pitch and to offer some advice. So thank you so much for participating.
All right, thanks so much, Nancy and Ed. Would you like to share some closing comments?
I just wanted to thank the both of you again, and I know that the participants, I'm sure, were happy and hopefully learned and became more aware of this is a tough strategy, you know, pitching and trying to put yourself or your company or your ideas out there to people that some will be friendly and accommodating and others are not interested. The only thing I know that when I pitch, there's always the possibility that you do your homework and you get in front of someone either in person like the old days or now electronically, and either during the pitch or by the end you realize you're pitching the wrong person. Even if it's at a company, like I do a lot of business with larger corporations, and I don't get frustrated by those experiences or let the person know obviously I'm pitching to the wrong person. I take it as Nancy mentioned, as practice, and then ask the very important question, okay, if what I just shared with you is not really appropriate for what you're doing or what your needs are? Do you know who the person is? And then you always have the door opener of telling the next person that you'll be pitching, I got your name and information and was referred to you by a colleague. And that would be helpful. And then the last thing I would tell you is that Nancy and Emily spend a lot of time educating us on us making these pitches. But remember, a lot of you are in the position to hear other people's pitches. You're the person being pitched. So you can take a lot of what you've heard from Nancy and Emily and utilize those to be a better, more effective person that's going to make these determinations. Because, you know, we all get annoying spam calls or sales and solicitation calls. But those of us that have to do that for a living or go and visit accounts, I'm always much more sympathetic and empathetic of people that will call me during the day. I don't just slam the phone down on them, because sometimes I'm the one making the call. So I would just encourage all of us to remember that people do this for a living and they're trying to support their families and grow their businesses. So that level of compassion for other people that are doing this, I've learned is an important life trait and advantage to have. And then with the PowerPoints, nothing worse than when you see someone and you find out that they got a 40-page slide PowerPoint, or the page is loaded with writing, which Nancy's absolutely correct. Most people will read ahead, or the thing that's a real pet peeve of mine is when people have large PowerPoints and all they do is read every word that's on the slide. Versus Nancy's were perfect. They were colorful and interesting. They drew my attention, but they didn't have a lot of information. They just had a little hint, and then she expounded on that versus just reading pages of slides. I think that's the kiss of death. With that, I wish you all the best, and stay in touch with Nancy and Emily. I know I will, and this is the end of our series. This round of series, I think it's got a lot of value, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Ed, and thank you, everyone. Thank you all for your great support and the wonderful questions and participation today. And we look forward to seeing you at our next events. And stay tuned, more is to come. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thanks again.
Goodbye, everyone, and thank you.